everyone. My name is Ruin Lin, and I'm the president of the National Chinese Honor Society here at Norwich Free Academy. I would like to thank every one of you for attending our panel for Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month to discuss the events that have recently affected the Asian American community. As students and as a school as a whole, we feel that it is important for us to address these issues and share the stories of Asian American leaders in our community. I know that growing up in an Asian American household with two immigrant parents, the idea of racism was never discussed about. So we are grateful to be able to shed some light on this topic today. We understand that racism is a difficult topic to have an open discussion about, but we hope that today's panel will offer you some insight into the Asian American community and will open the topic of racism to further discussion. I would like to especially thank each and every one of our panelists who embody the theme, Celebrating Resilience, Asian American Leaders of Connecticut. This evening, all our panelists will share their opinions on the events that have recently affected the Asian American community, as well as share their experiences and stories as Asian Americans. We will have specific questions for each of our panelists revolving their role in our community. There will also be a Q&A session with questions from the audience member after the panel discussion. Now, I will turn your attention to Karen Lau, who is the president of the Norwich NAACP Youth Council, who will also be the moderator for the night. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruin. My name is Karen Lau, and tonight I will be serving as your moderator. I have the honor of introducing our esteemed panelists who are here today. Swaranjit Singh Khalsa is the only Sikh elected official of Connecticut and serves as a member of the Norwich Board of Education. He helped educate over 2,000 Connecticut police officers in cultural competency training. He belongs to the Sikh homeland Punjab in South Asia. He is president of the Sikh Siwak Society International USA and serves as a member of the World Sikh Parliament. His advocacy was instrumental in recognizing the 1984 Sikh genocide in Connecticut, which helped Sikhs gain closure at the global level. Recently, he helped the Norwich Public Schools recognize more than 50 important cultural holidays. He also established the Sikh Art Gallery in Norwich, which has empowered the Sikh community to tell their history through art. Thank you to our 6 panelists for sharing your stories. Our next panelist is Mr. Swaranjit Singh Khalsa, and Gloria Ng will ask him a question.
I'm Gloria, and I have a question for Mr. Khalsa. How are you educating the community about the Sikh heritage and culture through the Sikh Art Gallery?
Thank you, Gloria. Well, first of all, I would like to do clapping for all the youth which is here. I can tell you, when youth come in the front line on any issue, that issue is supposed to be resolved as soon as possible. You have made all of us visible. There's no doubt about it. So please give clapping for yourself. Now, coming to your question, first of all, I would like to just thank for including Sikh community into AAPA community, which is one of the most visible community within the AAPA community. And sometimes I personally think, we don't get under the radar just because we don't have our independent Sikh homeland, and it just get ignored. But I'm very thankful to my community in Norwich, my state, which has always recognized my community and myself and make us feel comfortable that even though we are away from the home, now this is the new home. And this has helped our community to do more for the people over here. And I completely agree with Suki, because these kind of cultural events, when we do, they have helped our community to settle down in Norwich, because they feel like people in Norwich understand us, and they understand our pain, and they understand our feelings. So it's part of economic development as well, I will say. So thank you, all the work you do, Suki. Coming to your question, so I believe art and music, they're like universal languages. Sometimes we are on the radio while we're driving. It could be a classical music, but we were like, even though we don't understand the script of it, we just feel it's like soothing. Similarly, art. Art is an expression, and it's a very powerful expression. Sometime I might be unable to explain myself due to any communication gap, which a lot of our communities have. You know, we have accent problem, we might not feel comfortable talking to somebody about different issues, about our trauma, about, providing closure like Judge Nina was talking. So art is a very important tool which can help to narrate our story in the narrative it happened. So in our Sikh Art Gallery, we have art, we have paintings of Sikh martyrs, Sikh civil rights movement activists, Sikh generals, painting of Sikh Vatican, Golden Temple, and very simple things like how do we say welcome to somebody? It's called Ji Ayanu. Or what is a Sikh greeting? Sat Shri Akal is the Sikh greeting. What Singh means? Singh means lion. What Kaur means? Kaur means princess. So these are some of the things we have in the gallery, and we are trying to be more creative about it. First of all, it gives the acknowledgement to the artists who are doing Sikh art. So we acknowledge them as well. When we buy art from them, we put it up in our gallery. We, tag them in our Facebook or Instagrams. And they feel that they are doing something good, And we have art from Germany, from Russia, from Punjab, from Canada, all over the world. So I think you should, first of all, visit our website and take a virtual tour, and I'll be more than happy to provide you an in-person tour as well. But I personally feel, sometimes it's hard to explain. And sometimes there are events that community has to go through or experiences that they have to go through. They don't even feel comfortable discussing those, like 1984 Sikh genocide. So we have a model of Sikh Vatican, because month of June is coming, which is a Sikh Memorial Month recognized by our Governor Lamont. There's a model of Sikh Vatican, Darbar Sahib, and Akal Takht. And it's a Lego model. It took like 12 hours to do it. And I simply ask a question: how will you feel if I break this model and you make this model? And that's how community felt when in June, Sikh temples were, bombarded. So there's many things to it that we have tried to accomplish, like the history of Punjab, various events or timelines, how that country was a country till 1849, then what happened in 1947, what happened in 1966, where is Punjab located now? And there was a recent issue of a farmer protest, which was very popular all over the world. But why Sikhs are on the front lines? So there's a model there which shows that farming was one of the occupation that Sikhs had for a long, long time, and they still have it. And they became the owner of their own land under the Sikh empire. So it's like a gift from their ancestors to them. So if laws are made to take away the land, they're not acceptable to the communities. Other thing I will say, it's very hard. I really like the point you said, sometimes we get confused. Are we American? Are we Sikh? Are we Asian? Who are we? So it is very important that we all learn our own history first. And we learn the history in the right narrative, so somebody else don't try to enforce their own narrative to us. We need to feel comfortable in our own skin first. Unless we feel comfortable in our own skin, we won't be confident. If we are not confident, how can we help our other communities? How can we have courage to be in the public service? How can we have even courage to talk to somebody? We need to feel comfortable about who we are and where we are from and the rich history and heritage that we all have. And one thing I always say there is a common between all of us is the human perspective. We are all human. So at the end of the day, we are all one big human family. We all have emotions. We all have families. We all have kids, So there's many things we can get connected upon. So the Sikh Art Gallery is trying to establish that, giving our history in right narrative of different events. And in the backside of Sikh Art Gallery, we have made a diversity monument. We still have to do a dedication ceremony. It's just, I'm trying to make sure when the mask regulation is gone, so we can all see each other's face and get to know each other a lot more better. But we have diversity monument of different countries pointing in different directions and how far they are from Norwich. Because we have all these people living in Norwich. So they need to feel connected to their place, to Norwich as well. So there are many parts to it. Sikh Art Gallery is not just a place just for Sikhs. It's giving a universal message of brotherhood. And it's helping the community itself. I have got very positive response. And they said it's a blessing that we have a place. It's a resource center if somebody wants to learn about Sikh history or history of Punjab. So I'm very grateful, even though there has been a lot of incidents about hate crimes and recently about Indianapolis as well. So we did some open houses in wake of that. And I think bringing general awareness, our goal is to bring general awareness and education about our community. And it's fulfilling that job. And of course, within our Board of Education, we are also trying to make an equity policy now. So after that, real work will start, how we can make sure all the different cultures that live here feel not just welcome, but we embrace them, and we accept them, and we talk about them. We need to talk about issues to resolve the issues. Talking leads to resolving, This is my motto. And the motto of Sikh Art Gallery is engage, explore, and educate. So first you engage, then you explore, and then you get education about that. So this is what I have to say. Feel free to, go on the website and see for yourself. And the last thing I will say, why to blend in when you are born to stand out? So you always have to take that in your mind. You always have to be confident about who you are. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Khalsa, for teaching us about the Sikh culture and language, and for opening the Sikh Art Gallery to teach us more about art and Sikh history. Thank you. I now have the privilege of introducing the 25th Attorney General of Connecticut, Mr. William Tong. Born in Hartford to Chinese immigrant parents, William Tong grew up working in his family's restaurant. He attended Brown University and University of Chicago Law School. The first Asian American elected at the state level in Connecticut, he served for 12 years as a state representative. In 2018, he was elected the 25th Attorney General of Connecticut. He has been a leader in fighting the opioid epidemic by holding drug companies accountable. Through his initiatives, Connecticut has won lawsuits that protect our air quality and is currently tackling the effects of fossil fuel companies on climate change. Recently, Attorney General Tong led a national convening against anti-AAPI hate with Attorney General Racine, where policy leaders and advocates united to find solutions to support Asian American communities. Attorney General Tong, thank you so much for being here. Your question is, last Thursday, President Biden signed the COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act and No Hate Act into law, increasing the reporting of hate crimes by establishing funding police training. Attorney General Tong, how do you envision your office working with local law enforcement and Congress to prosecute hate crimes and support Asian Americans in Connecticut?
Thank you, Karen, and thank you for pulling this together. Thank you to the students here for driving this conversation and driving this change. It's great to be back here at NFA and in this auditorium and here with all of you. So I'm going back to Washington tomorrow. I was in Washington last Thursday in the White House for the bill signing with the President and the Vice President and the Attorney General and the Speaker and Congresswoman Meng, with whom I'm close, and I'm just so proud of the work that she did in ushering that bill through the House, and Senator Hirono, who pushed it through the Senate. Our very own Senator Blumenthal led the way as well with Senator Hirono. And it was an incredibly proud moment for me as an Asian American and one of the very few Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders ever to serve as an Attorney General in the history of this country, to be there. But I remarked more than once, I wish I didn't have to be there. We were there because, as we are today, on the one-year anniversary of the death of George Floyd, the murder of George Floyd, we are confronting very difficult and hard truths about our country. And during the trial of Derek Chauvin, I recall being asked how it felt, you know, and what this period of anti-Asian hate meant to me. And I said, well, this week during the trial of Derek Chauvin, we had to relive the trauma of George Floyd's murder at the same time the murder of 6 Asian American women in Atlanta, the shooting of Sikhs in Indianapolis, and then the video of the young man on the subway in New York City, and the video of the grandmother being brutalized, only to be followed again by the video of Yao Pan Ma while he was picking cans out of the garbage. And I said that it is hard to explain and articulate and put into words how it feels to have a target on your back and to feel like you and members of your family are being hunted. And that's how we all feel in this moment. And I think this bill, for the first time, this law now, it really goes a long way to seeing the harm. You talked about trauma, Your Honor, but the legacy of racism and hate and discrimination against Asian Americans that has existed since Asian Americans first came to this country in the early 1800s. The fact that people don't recognize that history, they don't recognize the legacy of the Chinese Exclusion Act or the Page Act or the murder of Vincent Chin in the 80s in Detroit, Michigan, or the internment of Japanese Americans, 125,000 Japanese American citizens incarcerated in camps on American soil. And so that history is not well understood. It is not often talked about. It's not often taught in places like NFA and schools across the state and this country. And this law was a recognition that we need to do something about this. And a recognition that too often in the conversation about race and racism and hate and discrimination, Asian Americans are invisible in that conversation. But we were visible last Thursday in the White House, and specifically, mechanically, the law will allow all of us state, federal, local partners to focus on reporting. One of the biggest problems in our community is that people don't report when they're victims of bias or hate crimes. You know, we can talk about the reasons for that because of long-standing suspicion about law enforcement in immigrant communities, you know, the lack of a relationship between law enforcement and immigrant communities, people in communities of color being distrustful, worried about their own immigration status when they really even should have no reason to worry about their immigration status. They are reticent to report. So reporting's a big part of it. Kristen Clark today was confirmed as the first African-American woman to lead the Division of Civil Rights in the Department of Justice. I've spoken to her about this issue. They're appointing a point person in the Department of Justice on hate crimes and focusing on Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. So I'll have somebody to call when something happens. That's incredibly important. Yes, thank you. Thank you to the United States Senate. And then resources. You know, when you want to do something about something in government, you got to put boots on the ground, people and money. And there will be resources focused on confronting and beating back hate and racism and hate crimes against Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. So this is a huge step forward, but only the beginning. And let me just close by saying this conversation, when I was a kid growing up in the Hartford area in Connecticut, would never have happened. It was not possible. There weren't even enough of us, right, to fill the first 3 seats, never mind the first row, and have a moderator, and have a judge, an appellate court judge, and have people from across the state. There wasn't critical mass, there wasn't understanding, and we were invisible. The time for being invisible is well over. And so I just want to thank all of you for seeing us. The president said that to us in his remarks. We see you, and let us continue to not just have conversation, but amplify our voices. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Attorney General Tong. I remember watching you last Thursday on C-SPAN, talking with the Vice President about the Hate Crimes Act, and we're so happy to see you here. You mentioned that there was feelings of invisibility, but I can say for all of us today, especially my friends in the front row, that today we don't feel invisible. We feel seen, especially by the teachers and faculty who are here today, and we feel represented by all of the leaders on the stage today. Thank you so much.